Good day, everyone. Today I will be reporting about Chapter 5, which is the selection of stocks and stocking practices. So, factors to consider in choosing fish for aquaculture. First is the growth performance. So, high growth rate, grown to marketable size in short time, and should reach marketable size before first maturation. So, example for that is the tilapia. They are among the easiest and most profitable fish to farm due to their ease to reproduce, high stocking density, rapid growth, high protein, and palatability. The second factor is the reproductive habits. So, the ability to reproduce easily, especially in confinement, is a primary requirement. For a successful culture, a stable supply of seed or young must be available. The reproductive process of the species must be understood and genetic selection and improvement must be possible. Reproduction should produce large quantities and occur frequently, high spawning, frequency, and fecundity. Eggs and larvae need to be large, hardy, and easy to culture. For the third factor, we have the egg and larvae requirements. So first is the nutritional needs and feeding habits. So nutrition is critical because feed typically represents approximately 50% of the variable production cost. The second one is for feeding habits. A species can be selected low on the food chain or high on the food chain. An aquaculture species low on the food chain consumes low-cost feeding or low-cost vegetable matter or by indirectly consuming primary foods within the pond. Low on the food chain, which rely on the algae, plankton, or other plant-based materials. So in simple terms, this species is efficient in converting inexpensive feed sources into valuable protein for human consumption. So maximize efficiency and minimize the expenses. The fourth factor, we have the nutritional needs and the feeding habits. So aquatic animals require protein, carbohydrates, fats, and vitamins and minerals. So unlike terrestrial animals, some of the nutritional needs are met directly from the aquatic environment. Research on the optimal amounts and form for each species continues. The more completely nutritional needs are understood, the more efficiently other aquatic animals can be produced. So for example, fingerlings and juveniles grow more rapidly than older fish. Since this growth is mostly addition of lean protein tissue, a higher percentage of protein is required in the diet to furnish the essential amino acid that make up the lean tissue. So as fish get older and larger, their overall growth rate and deposition of lean tissue declines, and the percentage of protein in the diet is usually decreased. This concept of lowering the dietary protein content as the animal ages is the basis of phase feeding programs. Therefore, nutrient-dense feeds are formulated or designed to supply a specific nutrient concentration required for optimum performance at different life stages. The ability to accept artificial diet. So, example, certain predator fish may be accustomed to hunting live prey and may not readily accept processed feed pellets. Another example is the eels that are carnivorous and primarily feed on live or freshly dead prey such as fish, crustaceans, and worms. Due to their specialized feeding behavior and nutritional requirements, it can be challenging to develop artificial feeds that adequately meet their dietary needs. The next factor is the polyculture possibilities. Selecting polyculture as a criterion for determining which species to produce depends on the type of production system. For an intensive culture system, growth rate could be more a concern than the efficiency in use of water space and nutrients. Polyculture increases the total aquatic production in a volume of water by using species that occupy different dimensions of the water and feed on different feedstuffs. So, polyculture in aquaculture is a factor because it maximizes resource use, increases biomass production, and boosts harvest by combining species with different feeding habits and habitat preferences. For the sixth factor, we have the adaptability to crowding. So, aquaculture required species that are used to crowding. Crowding increases productivity of a space while increasing management for space. Aquatic species selected for culture exhibit adaptability to withstand crowding. So, adaptability to crowding is a factor in aquaculture because it determines how well species can tolerate high density living conditions without negative impacts on growth, health, and behavior. This adaptability is essential for maintaining productivity and welfare in intensive farming systems. The seventh factor is the disease resistant. So species varies widely in their ability to resist the disease. Aquaculturists select species for disease resistance based on the conditions at their production site. Disease resistance in aquaculture is a factor because it helps reduce the reliance on antibiotics, lower the risk of disease outbreaks, and leads to more sustainable and cost effective farming practices. The last factor is the market demand. So, production of an aqua crop can be successful and efficient, but without a market, production efforts are wasted. So, a market for a product consists of desire by consumers, price consumers can afford, prepared, easy to use forms of the product, storage to reach consumers, and the desired flavor. So, market demand is a factor because it drives production decision, influence species selection, and affects profitability by determining the price and volume of sales. The next topic is the stocking practices. So, for the stocking rate, two interpretations of stocking rate. Stocking rate in terms of number of fish per unit area or volume of water, and the stocking rate in terms of weight per unit area or volume of water. So, stocking rate is based on the following: the level of production, types of food, pond unit in the case of pond, kinds of fish, culture system. Example for that is the fish pond, fish cage, or the fish pen. In aquaculture, the stocking rate refers to the number of organisms, such as fish or shrimp, that are stocked in a given area. The difference between monoculture and polyculture stocking rates lies in the diversity of species and how they interact within the same environment. So, as you can see on the table below, the stocking practices there are based on methods of culture relative to species combination. We have the monoculture. This involves culturing a single species in a given area, while the polyculture this involves in culturing multiple species together that have different ecological niche, reducing different competitions for resources. Also, polyculture can lead to better use of available resources and space, potentially increasing overall productivity. Also, stocking rates in aquaculture are a critical factor that varies significantly across methods of culture relative to levels of the production. We have the extensive, modified extensive, semi-intensive, and the intensive. Here's why they are important in each system. For the extensive, the system relies on the natural productivity to support the stock species. The stocking rate is low, allowing organisms to grow in a more natural environment with minimal human intervention. So it's important to maintain a low stocking rate to prevent overuse of the natural carrying capacity of the environment. So for modified extensive, it rely on natural food with supplemental energy-rich feeds. Semi-intensive, this system uses some level of active management, such as supplemental feeding and aeration. Stocking rates are higher than in extensive system, but still moderate enough to maintain a balance with natural productivity of the system. The importance here is to optimize the stocking rate to maximize growth without causing environmental degradation or requiring excessive inputs. For the intensive, in this system, organisms are stocked at high densities and are heavily managed with regular feeding, aeration, and water treatment. The stocking rate is at its maximum to achieve the highest possible production per unit area. The challenge is to manage the high stocking rate to prevent disease outbreaks, maintain water quality, and ensures animal welfare. So each system has its own balance of stocking rate, inputs, and management practices to ensure the health of organisms, economic viability, and minimal environmental impact. So thank you and have a great day.